In this episode of the Palmetto Guardian, we talk about animal rescues and survivor outreach services. Welcome to this episode of the Palmetto Guardian. I'm Specialist David Erskine.
And I'm Lieutenant Tracci Dorgan.
And we got to meet Lieutenant Dorgan in last week's episode for Hugo, and she's back with us again for another episode this week. And of course, we're talking storm stuff and everything that went around Hugo. So we're going to take the opportunity today to talk about what you do a little bit on your civilian side of your life, which is you're a farmer.
I'm a farmer. I run a rescue farm for farm animals, really. I don't rescue vegetables or anything like that, but horses, donkeys, chickens, rabbits, goats, pigs, you name it. If it's a farm animal, I'll take it.
And I've actually been out to her farm, and she has a fair amount of animals. She has her own herd of dogs.
Yes, those two.
And
cats.
And cats. Bunch of chickens and stuff. I appreciate the eggs that come from the farm. They're very good. As one of my sons said, they taste like freedom. Because they are free range chickens. But that's kind of an odd thing to get into because you didn't really have any history as a farmer, right?
Not at all. No.
Before this moment in time, we discussed. You were born California area. As far as military, you've done public affairs,
Signal and
field artillery.
Yep.
Did a little recruiting back in the day.
Yeah.
None of those are farmer MOSs.
No.
So how?
It's just always, since I was a little girl, every little girl wants horses. Well, I wanted more than just horses. I wanted the whole farm. So always wanted to have I always thought about 50 acres in Montana, but I hate the cold.
Yeah.
So I decided for a few acres in South Carolina and just went with it.
Not that that's not completely opposite, but whatever. I mean, it seems ballparkish, and I don't think there's a problem with that. So, I mean, you obviously wanted to do it. I mean, just one day you go, man, I'm going to get a horse. Or, I mean, how does that evolve? How does that start? I mean, I live in a community right now. I got a half-acre lot with my house. I couldn't imagine just walking home one day and going, you know what? I'm going to rescue a horse today. I'm going to let it hang out in the backyard. I mean, there's got to be some kind of plan and forethought, or was it kind of just you were walking along one day and it presented itself to you as an opportunity?
It was a forethought, yeah. There was, I've heard of, I can't even think of the name. There's a Big Oaks Rescue in Greenwood.
Okay.
And I learned about them many years ago, and that's just like, I want to do something like that. It's just a way to take care of horses, and you kind of get them for free. Obviously, you have to pay for their food and everything like that, but you don't have to pay for the horse. Huh. And horses are very expensive if you went out and bought one. So best way to get one is to rescue one. And it wasn't even 3 months that I had my fence up that I had 3 horses from a nearby farm that was just struggling, couldn't feed their horses, so I got 3 horses.
So obviously there's no shortage of people that want to bring you animals then.
Right. I never have a problem finding people to give me animals. I try not to find too many because I can only do so much.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I've been out to your place. You got a nice little area out there. I mean, you got hopes and dreams of growing it bigger than what it is, or are you kind of happy where it is today? Or
no, I really want it to grow exponentially. I've got to get into the fundraising and how to make money as far as a nonprofit. But for right now, it's a good size because I can do it all by myself. But I want it to get bigger.
That's just wild to me. I couldn't imagine. I've taken in a couple stray dogs and stray cats, and like that's stressful enough by itself. I'm like, oh, I didn't really. There's no plan to have this animal here today. I just the fact that people just call you and be like, hey, yeah, by the way, I got a horse. You got room? Like that's not finding like a little corner in your house for a kitten or something like that to hang out. Now you also try to rehome
Yes.
the animals if possible.
Yes. So right now I do have a total of 6 horses, but if I hadn't rehomed 3 already, I would have 9. So sometimes you have to think that I might be the last home for somebody because 3 of my horses are high 20s. And that's old for a horse.
old
I have
for
one 29-year-old, and he's actually one of my best-looking horses. But once they start getting in their high 20s, people really don't want them. So I have to plan that I'm their final home.
Yeah.
And I just love on them, feed them, and groom them, and he even gives me good kisses. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's a real sweet baby.
I've had one kiss by a horse.
Yeah.
And I didn't enjoy it. I worked on a horse farm when I was younger, and I made the mistake of bending over in front of a young stud in red sweatpants, and I know exactly how many teeth are at the top and the bottom of a horse's mouth as they clamp onto your rear end.
Yeah.
And it wasn't great.
Well, no, my horse doesn't use teeth.
He doesn't use teeth. No, okay. Yeah, because and I tell you what, along with that, I've actually brought my son out to your farm. And I brought my niece and my nephew out there too, which is really cool. It's a really good experience for them to kind of see how some of that stuff works and the fact that you let them come out there. And I like that, she took the time with them to teach them and show them kind of how to handle the horses correctly and where to stand and things like that I wouldn't have known how to do. So not only are you doing some rescue stuff, at least for people that know you or whatever, there's some education potentials involved in there. Now, how was that for you going into it? Did you kind of already know how to handle this situation? Like, did you go? Are there like horse support groups out there that I don't know about, like Horse Taking Care of Anonymous or what? Like,
I haven't found any. If there are, but there might be. I just don't. I don't spend the time looking for them.
Yeah.
I've just learned as I go. When I first bought the land and put up fencing, I got my niece's horse, and I only had her for 3 months before I got my first 3 rescues. So it was all just trial by fire, and I learned a few things the hard way. Got my few broken toes by getting stepped on.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah.
And I learned to do everything organically too. So my horses don't get a lot of medicine or treatments per se, as a veterinarian would prescribe a medicine for, I don't know, say worms or anything. I've learned how to treat it organically. So they still get their vaccines for rabies,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But if it can be treated organically, I've learned how to do that. Ear mites, hoof problems, I do it all organically.
That's pretty cool. That's a lot of reading.
It has been a lot of reading. If I could have a master's degree in just learning how to take care of a horse, I would have it.
Yeah, you'd be all over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's wild. And that's the cool thing, kind of about all the people in the Guard in general. We always talk about this whole citizen soldier thing, and I think sometimes it becomes more of a slogan than a reality. But
Right.
when you get to talk to people like yourself and many others, I mean, you could pick anybody out of the Guard, and they all have these stories, these wealths of knowledge. I mean, if we didn't know each other and work with each other, and I just met you one day on a training exercise, there's nothing about you that I went, yeah, she rescues horses,
Right.
and that's just amazing. It's amazing me to think how that process would happen for you and how you get into that, and it's something you just basically you have to be passionate about.
Right.
And you might think, well, where does that skill apply? But let's play a little scenario game here. If we are in a disc mission or a hurricane mission, and like we discussed before, you're from a different section on M-Day side during hurricanes. But I mean, if for some reason there was trapped horses or something like that, and they didn't know how to handle the personnel that were there, you have an expertise in this of, potentially how to settle these horses down, how to get them moved, and whatever else.
I do have a funny story now that you say that. So it was probably my 3rd hurricane response, and we were at Conway High School. My unit was at Conway High School. That was our base.
Yeah.
And they had chickens and ducks in their back lot. and nobody from the school was coming back to feed them because everybody was told to evacuate. And so everybody's like, how do you take care of these chickens? What do we have to do for the ducks? Oh my gosh, what are we doing? And I'm like, I got you. I'll take care of it. So every morning I'd bring out some scraps. We'd have vegetables from the night before, or bread or anything. I didn't know where the supplies were for the school, so I didn't have lock and key to get stuff, but I made do with what was around from our cafeteria and gave them water,
Yeah.
changed their waters out.
And see, that matters, you know? I mean, that type of stuff matters, you know? Some people might kind of scoff at it like it's ducks and chickens, but that was somebody's ducks and chickens. And you forget a lot of times when you are in these natural disasters, being able to come back to something that's your norm. It's something as silly as a duck or a chicken can be huge for people. I mean, that's why there's so many of these pet rescues and stuff like that that happen during these storms event, and these shelters are set up so people can reconnect with their animals. You know, if you're not a pet owner, you might not completely get it. Nothing wrong with that. Not everybody should or wants to have pets, but for people who do have pets, those are their family members.
Right.
And it matters. They matter just as much as a brother, sister, an aunt, uncle, you know. We lost a dog recently at our house, and, you know, I guess hit me a little bit harder than what I thought it would, and definitely my wife and my son. But you know, he was part of the family. He was part of the family.
Well, like I said, my oldest horse is 29 now. I haven't had him 29 years, but if somebody did keep that horse for 29 years, it's a long time to have a horse.
Yeah.
So I'm just happy to be able to provide him a happy last home.
Yeah.
He'll be with me till his last day, so he's got a good home. But I also wanted to bring up equine therapy. Now, we talk about loss of any kind and soldiers of our South Carolina National Guard or any soldier, any military member. Equine therapy is an up-and-coming type of how to deal with your PTSD or how to cope with a loss. So if you want to come over and love on a horse because of your lost dog, you know.
Oh, my son would. He might need it more than I, but yeah. But you know that, I mean, it's kind of like a therapy dog. It takes a lot of passion. It takes, and like I said, losses are terrible, whether it be an animal or, you know, a family member. Which kind of goes into who we have coming in to talk with us today, our special guest coming in from Survivor Outreach Services. Obviously a very passionate group of individuals that deal with some very difficult stuff, but really is there for the soldiers, the airmen, really the whole military community of South Carolina and their family members and stuff. So people might have been wondering, you know, how's this whole like farm thing is going into this or whatnot, but it really is about caring about your loved ones on both sides. Both your farm is a continuation of care for animals that people have loved. Survivor Outreach Service continues to take care of family members, soldiers, and airmen, even after, you know, tragic events like death and stuff. So I guess we'll jump over to our special guest and we'll talk to them and find out more about Survivor Outreach Services.
They have a lot to tell us, so all ears.
Today we have Rochelle, Tindal, Sharpe, and Julia Reinburg from Survivor Outreach Services. Both of them are Survivor Outreach Service coordinators. And they're going to tell us a little bit about the program. Now, in today's topic, for those who don't know what Survivor Outreach Services is, we are going to be talking about death. And it's not something that we like to talk about. It's not something that we hope for anybody, but it is a reality of the world we live in. And these are the people who have some information of how they reach out and can help soldiers and airmen with
their families.
And their families specifically with this situation. So thank you, ladies, for being with us. And if you don't mind, just jump in and tell us a little bit about the program and what y'all do.
Thank you for having us over here and giving us the opportunity to talk a little bit about our program and the idea that is behind it. So Survivor Outreach Services, in short form SOS, is a long-term assistance to the families of the fallen. It is a holistic and multi-agency approach, and we are a resource and referral program that assists the families of the fallen as long as they desire. We, on a normal, regular basis, come in about 160 to 180 days after the death occurred, and we are not a replacement for the casualty assistance officer that does the main leg work of securing benefits for the family if they're entitled to any. We are coming afterwards and do the long-term care.
Now, you mentioned the long-term care. Kind of what are some of the pieces that fall into that long-term care for that?
Well, basically, when the death initially happens, there's a lot going on that the survivors just cannot think about that may be coming later down the road. They have a lot coming at them at one time while they're also grieving the loss of their loved one. So we help with anything as far as counseling later down the road if they feel like that's something they need. Of course, if they need it immediately, then we have those resources as well. They can speak with the casualty assistance officer. And we do what we call a warm handoff from the casualty assistance officer to the survivor outreach service coordinator. So that's when we first meet our survivors. And then from there forward, once the benefits and things are taken care of by the casualty assistance officer, any long-term needs as far as financial counseling, any kind of resource and referral, maybe a benefit was missed that they did not know they were entitled to. The children could have educational benefits later down the road, when they become of age. So we track those children as well to make sure that they receive what they're entitled to receive.
You also have events that bring these survivors together, correct?
Yes, and this is part of the holistic approach. We strongly encourage not only financial peace, but also mental peace. And we often say when a death occurred, if a loss occurred, that a survivor is often for a very long time in a fog, not really knowing what's going on, not really understanding what is all coming at them. And it is important to have them able to find resources that can assist them maneuvering through this difficult time. And so one of the things that we do is having events, because we have learned over the time that during these events, these survivors bond. There are friendships formed that can last a lifetime. As I always like to say, this is the club nobody wants to be in. And nobody can really relate to the feelings and emotions that these families and survivors go through unless you have encountered it. Mm-hmm. You can say a lot, you can support a lot, and still you have no idea. And so we encourage our survivors strongly to reach out and find these bonds, find these families and people who are relatable to them and their story. And so this is one of these things that make events so special for us and hopefully for our survivors, because that's, of course, our main concern.
Right.
And as far as the events go, we have two main events that we host every year. One is Gold Star Mothers and Family Day, and that's the last day of September, the last Saturday.
Sunday this year.
Fix that.
No, it's fine. Keep rolling. We're correcting it on the fly. Last Sunday of September, yeah?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
This year being the 29th of September. And the Lace House at the Governor's Mansion, they've always been very supportive and accommodating, and so that's where we host the event. And it's we're going to start around 1 o'clock registration, 12:30ish, and we should be done by 4 that day. And this, again, is an opportunity for the survivors to come together and bond. DePradas will be providing the lunch that day. And it's a very special event. We'll have a balloon release, a poem reading, and during the lunch, like I said, that's the time for them to share their stories with each other. Last year, we had a survivor attend who had never attended before. She kind of had a bad experience when her son passed away many years ago with the individual she was working with, and she just didn't feel comfortable. But since then, me and her have bonded, and she felt comfortable enough to give it one more try. And she did come to our event last year, and now she's very involved in our program and very thankful for what we offer.
Good.
So hopefully, we'll have some more first-time attendees this year, and we'll continue to build that and build the relationships between the survivors. The other event that we have annually is our Holiday Wishes. That's going to be on
December 7th.
Yep, December 7th, and that will be this year at the Courtyard Marriott downtown here in the Vista, Columbia area.
Okay.
We do understand that certain survivors cannot come to Columbia all the time, so we have smaller events in our AORs, areas of operations. We're actually in South Carolina, 4 one active duty and 3 National Guard Survivor Outreach Services coordinators. We share a amount of about 5,500 survivors. Some of them, of course, are more active with the program, some not so much, but we are trying to touch each and every one of them. So one thing, especially for the more elderly population of our survivors, we do events in the individual AORs. So I have another event coming up on the 21st of September. It's on Isle of Palm. It's very informal. It's just a get together, a meet and greet. So that's the things we do. There's one coming up in Georgia, where I partner with Fort Gordon. Rochelle had in the past a very successful event in Florence. So I'd like to suggest follow us on Facebook. Survivor Outreach Services South Carolina, easy to find. We always post in our events there, and if you want an email and have a private invitation, get in touch with us.
Now, I'm going to kick it over to 2 real life stories that I was actually involved in and with y'all's office. One was many years ago, and I was asked to go out and film one of the survivors of the situation. And I remember filming it, and I got a little emotional, and oddly enough, it wasn't so much over the service members passing or death at the time, but it was just the family members themselves and how much Survivor Outreach Services had done for them. Because I remember the individual, there was a younger daughter and a mother that was involved in the situation, and especially the daughter, because she had mentioned how much Survivor Outreach Services had. The situation's never okay, but it made the situation more okay, I guess is the best way to put it. It's not something that's ever okay, but y'all were able to make it more livable, I guess. And so that was kind of wild to me. The other one was one that I'd got involved in a couple years ago, but there was a young lady, her husband had passed away, and she had no benefits at all. She had no clue that she was even available to benefits, and I'd actually given her y'all's number. And what was interesting about that to me is how much y'all's office is actually interconnected with everything, because y'all kind of kicked it off, and next thing you know, there was talks with the retirement section and this section and education and all this kind of stuff. And I don't think they realize how much y'all's office is actually integrated with all the Guard and service member family care. Talk to me a little bit about how, I guess, that piece of it works, that relationship y'all have built with all these other offices in the Guard.
Well, I can kind of give you an example of how it relates to a survivor that I just happened to run into her uncle, who was in the Guard, at actually the change of command for the TAG this past year. And he just asked, what do you do? How are you associated with the military? And I told him, and he said, well, I lost my brother, and it was an accidental death. And let me stress that too. These aren't just, killed in action. These are any type of deaths. It could be suicide. It could be killed in action. It could be an accidental death. And this case was actually an accidental death. And so he told me that his nieces were, they were survivors. They were left behind when their father passed, and he wasn't sure if they were entitled to anything because of the dynamics of the family at the time. and could I check into it? So I took down the information, came back to work that following week and looked into it, and I went to the education department and asked if there was any educational benefits that maybe I couldn't see because he was an M-Day soldier. So with M-Day soldier, benefits are different. He did not die in the line of duty. He wasn't active duty. And to make this story a little shorter here, make a long story short, I found out that he had transferred some of his educational benefits to his daughter that they were unaware of. She was getting ready to graduate from Clemson, but she has a sister who was getting ready to start college. So, got the information we needed. She did the paperwork she needed to fill out, and the benefits were there. And they had no idea. So that's how we kind of just fit in with the Guard. You never know who you're going to run into, what situation you're going to be asked about or be a part of. And working at the Bluff Road Armory, we're right there with the Service Member Family Care Directorate. Retirement Services right across the street. Julie has a very good connection with the individual at the VA. We just build connections, network and talk to the people we need to talk to help survivors.
So when it's an accidental death, how do you find out about it?
This was happenstance on this particular case.
Yeah.
But obviously the Guard being a very tight-knit family, and speaking just Guard now, not active duty, we may get a call from someone from active duty as well, or the Army Reserves. But just being here and being around as long as we've been around, we would just ask, or somebody will call, or it could be put on the skip page that someone, passed away, and then we see that and we say, well, let's see if there's anything out there that they may be missing.
I mean, the issue we have most is with older cases. Very often, if a survivor does not see a benefit coming towards him, they kind of don't want to have to contact or lose the contact. But so this is one of our mandates, that we reach out to our survivors and find out what stage of their life they're in. What needs do they have? Can we assist them? No, there is no help for everything and assistance possible, but a lot of times we can reroute them and can offer them resources where they can find, if it's not an Army-related benefit. With that being said, no shoe fits all. It is always a very individual talk in an individual situation. So what fits for Survivor A does not necessarily fit for Survivor B. But that's where we come in, analyzing basically what is needed, and then referring it out and finding resources. And sometimes it is really a little bit of detective work when you find out that people didn't get their money that they were promised. So, yeah. And sometimes we're successful and sometimes we're not successful. I mean, like I said, it's an individual situation, but we're always trying to reach out and do the best of our abilities and make sure and follow up that the survivor is taken care of.
Yeah, and like you said, there might not be financial stuff, but it is a holistic approach, and sometimes just belonging.
Exactly, and one thing that Rochelle mentioned with Soldier Family Care, we have such a good working relationship, especially when it comes to the children. Our survivor children are always welcome to go to any of the youth programs, events. They are very much included. Not only will this keep them more involved and out of this loneliness that they might fall into, but it also will connect them with the legacy of their lost one. So most of our children actually are very much interested in going fishing or to the summer camp. That's always a really good thing. So
Yeah, we become their extended family.
Yes.
Which, I mean, that's the way it's always been in the Guard. That's what the Guard is
Extended
anyway.
family.
Just because something happens doesn't mean you're not part of the family anymore.
Right, and that's really what I would want. One of the main things I would want people to understand, that if you are the wife of a National Guardsman, or a spouse, I should say, or a child if you're to lose that individual who wears the uniform, you didn't lose your family. We're still here. So we're here for as long as they desire us to be. Now, there may be cases where they're just not comfortable at the moment, they're mad about something, and they're just like, no, we don't want to have anything to do with this. We just need our own time and our own space. The invitation's always open. They can always come back.
And talking about the extended family and stuff, I actually went and covered a Gold Star event years back. I had no clue what it was when I actually went out there. And how, tell us a little bit more about that program and why it exists and kind of how it got started type thing.
So in 1936, the Congress enacted the Gold Star Mother's Day and proclaimed it, and it was actually going back to the fallen of World War I. In the meanwhile, it has been grown, and it has become a federal accredited, I don't want to say holiday, but a memorial day for the Gold Star Mothers, which the president signs a proclamation every year. It is just meant to keep our families and their loss on our minds. I mean, less than 1% of the U.S. population actually serves in the military, so we see uniforms every day. We are exposed to this, but there are many, many families, many, many citizens of the United States who are not. And this is to reach awareness, to honor the fallen's legacy, to remember them and honor their living and their sacrifice, because it is an immense sacrifice. And like I said in the beginning, if you have not endured this, you cannot understand. And so, like Rochelle said, the last Sunday of September is the Gold Star Mothers and Family Day. And it is not only proclaimed on a national level, but it is Governor of South Carolina. He is also proclaiming it. And it is just to reflect on the sacrifice and the loss of the family and honoring them moving on and still being a part of this Army family.
Yeah, I was when I first went out to this event and did it. I thought it was going to be, I guess, a very somber, very sad event. Not to say that it's still not a, that emotion doesn't lie there, but it was actually a lot more. I guess I won't say maybe upbeat, but it was a lot more bonding, pride. It wasn't a sad type situation. It wasn't with these people.
They become family for each other.
Yeah.
They become the support that we cannot offer because we're not on that emotional level.
And it was amazing to watch these people, and they were getting up and they were talking about it, and you could see some of the newer family members that were there were struggling. They were very quick to reach out, and it was an amazing situation to be a part of. And when you see things like that, you're like, yes, this is good. This is working. This is what things were intended to be. And I like that we have that part of the Guard, especially with y'all, because y'all have a very tough job. Y'all have a very tough job. I mean, very rewarding job, but it's tough. I know it's tough. I forgot where I was going with that question. I knew I had it. There was a point that I was leading to.
Oh,
I'll
goodness.
let you think about it a minute while
Okay.
I add a few things.
Yeah.
As far as the rewarding and as our jobs or whatever, a lot of people say, how can you do that every day? It's got to be very heavy, and it is, but it's also, when we have these events, it's a celebration of their lives. So we honor and remember their service, their sacrifice. We create relationships with these families. They become a part of. One person in particular I think about when I see her, she always has this huge smile on her face. She lost her son. She has this huge smile on her face, and we just hug each other, and it's a time to spend time with your family. You've lost a family member, obviously, if you're attending one of these events, but we're your new family. And we're celebrating the life they had together. So, and then the rewarding part too is when we do find these benefits that they had no idea they were entitled to. When you can make a phone call to an 18-year-old, he's getting ready to have his birthday, he's getting ready to turn 18, getting ready to begin college, and he finds out that his father had left him half the death. He was entitled to half the death gratuity, which was like $50,000. He had no idea, and his dad had been passed for like 10, 12 years.
Wow.
And so I got to make that phone call and say, did you know? Can you come to Fort Jackson? Can you fill out some paperwork? This could really help you with your future and with your college. And then we connected him with a financial advisor, because at 18, you know, money's different than when you're a little older like me.
Yeah.
So they received what they were entitled to, and then got some help with
How they should.
to take that to the next step.
Wonderful.
So did you come back to your question?
No, but I think that answered it. Oddly enough, I think that answered the question that I was kind of wanting to go towards or whatnot. Yeah, and that's huge. That's awesome. And you mentioned that the 18-year-old too is, when y'all can do something like that, that's almost like bringing his dad back to him for that moment. It's a reminder to him. I was kind of putting myself in that situation. I could feel like a little tear coming up in the left corner of my eye there for a minute, but I could just, my dad's still with us, thank you. But I could imagine being in that situation and getting ready to go off to college, and you're having that thought, always expecting my dad to be here and whatever else. And all of a sudden you get this phone call and he is here with you.
Now you're going to make me cry.
Sorry. I was trying not to, but I got thinking about it because I got all boys too,
Right.
and I think about that situation with my youngest being, 12. If I wasn't there to make it to, it would be awesome to know that I had people that could bring that to him. Sorry. You're not supposed to do this.
If we're still around, we will take care of it.
There you go. You're not supposed to do this during podcast or whatever, but I guess he just kind of got
real.
yeah.
But with that, I wanna add something, because I think money, and I hate to say it like this, but money is a big divider. And since these podcasts are going out to our current Guard population, nothing is more important than having your DD-93 and your SGLI paperwork in order. So this is my call to the current active Guard population. If you never need it, perfect. That's what we really want.
Right.
But please get your DD-93 and your SGLI paperwork in order. Check it every year and make sure it goes to the people that you want to have it gone to, because we have to follow rules and regulations, and we have to follow what you chose, and we cannot change it. So that is one of the things that is a pet peeve of mine.
That's a good point.
As a previous family resource person, I just feel this is
That's just
an
good
important
business.
thing. Yeah.
It's just good business. It's housekeeping for you.
Yeah.
type thing.
And make
And
sure
life-
they're in deers too.
Yeah.
You have to have a
Life
child-
changes
child.
so quickly, and you forget about these things, but it's really, really important that your house is in order.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, you mentioned Facebook as far as keeping up with y'all on there. Are there any other means, I guess, to get in contact with y'all or track you, or if they're looking, somebody's trying to find you, where can they go?
Well, certainly, we are located out of the Bluff Road Armory, so if you want to see and meet us in person, come over to our office. Otherwise, my phone number is 803-299-2959, and my email would be julia.r.reinburg, reinburg.ctr@mail.mil. So shoot me an email, contact us over Facebook. That's currently the only ways how we don't have an Instagram, we don't have all the fancy
What was-
Twitter and all that. But
What was the Facebook again?
It's South Carolina SOS, Survivor Outreach Services. So you write it out and you will find it. It has a green logo. I'm trying to find one. Yep. No logo.
No logo today. No logo for our YouTube folks.
It's a green circle with a gold star in the middle and the American flag as a background. If you hit this in South Carolina, you're good.
There you go. Well, do you have any?
No, I think every question I thought of asking, you guys covered it in your,
Yeah.
in what you already said.
Yeah,
So,
and obviously I got too emotional to keep going on with questions here for whatever reason today. But we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule and coming and talk with us about this. It's good information, like you said. It's not information that you want to have, but it's information if you need that if you ever find yourself in that situation. That like you said, we continue the family just because a bad situation occurred. That's not when you drop the ball on family. That's when you up the ante, and obviously that's what y'all do. So thank you for taking the time and sharing with us today.
Well,
Thank you for having us.
thank you for giving us the platform.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I appreciate the young ladies coming by from Survivor Outreach Services and talking with us today. A lot of good information, hard information, like they said, but it's needed information.
yes.
Big thing for them to be in here not only is just getting the information out about the Survivor Outreach Service program like they did, but also to mention the upcoming Gold Star event on 29th of September.
Gold Star Mothers event.
Gold Star Mothers event up on the 29th of September. So that's something, obviously it's there for those individuals to participate in. Maybe if you've been thinking about maybe coming to one, maybe this is the one that, you got a little bit more information about. Maybe this is the one you come check out.
Right. If you have any other needed information, they had that Facebook page, the South Carolina Survivor Outreach Services Facebook page. You can get anything, and you can contact the ladies
Yeah.
from that too. So
Yeah.
if you have any other questions.
And it sounds like a good source of information. Sounds like they're putting stuff out on it, and it's a good way to. It's the community. It's just being part of that community, and that's really what they've created. Is like we said, it's the extension of the Guard family,
Right.
which is what the Guard's always been. But like we said, it's just because something tragic happens doesn't mean you're not part of the family anymore. If nothing else, we just pull you that much closer into the family. Make sure you're okay.
Right. Well, and it's survivors from not just the National Guard, regular Army, reserves. I think I heard they have some Navy and Marine Corps
Yeah.
mothers coming to this event.
Yeah, I mean, they really do take care of the whole state.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound. They're a good group of people. They're not going to turn you away,
No.
Even if they aren't necessarily the people that you need to be talking. They're going to find the people that you need to talk to.
Right.
And that's amazing to have that resource. That's a tough job. It really is. It's a tough job. I imagine, like they said, it's hard, but it's rewarding all at the same time. It's an emotional roller coaster.
I could imagine, or I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. So, as always, thank you to the people that support us in those ways. And, people forget sometimes that a lot of civilian entities, they're with the Guard and the military department, whatever, and all that stuff. But, these are civilians that are coming in and working to do this with us. It's not this suit or that suit or this color or this, and they're there for, like we said, they're there for everybody. They're there for everybody, and if you've remotely been thinking about it or not sure about it, or maybe you don't know if you should be working with Survivor Outreach, call them and ask. Let them guide you where you need to be.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest takeaway. Just contact them.
Yeah, just contact them. Let them help you. I know it can be tough. You might have some mixed feelings about the military as a whole at that point in time, or you might just not think that you can reach out to anybody. That's when you're in those situations. That's when you need to reach out to somebody and let them help you. Like I said, they're connected with everybody out there in service member family care.
Yes.
And the people here at the tag bill and stuff, so they have quick access to employment services. They have access to the behavioral health folks, and kind of one-stop shopping, right?
Yep.
It's good stuff. Well, We appreciate everybody stopping in and joining us for this episode of the Palmetto Guardian. I'm Specialist David Erskine,
I'm Lieutenant Tracci Dorgan.
and we'll catch you in the next episode.